Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Music City Drive-In, brought to you by the Drive-In Podcast Network. We have a special episode for you guys today. As we inch closer and closer to the Oscar season, we wanted to sit down again. The last time we sat down was in December. Jacob and I talked about the Oscar season. We want to tackle the big six. We're going to talk about some front runners. We're going to talk about some people that we think are locks and some people that are on the cusp. For all of the bottom tier categories, you can check out Jacob's monthly piece over at the Music City Drive-In. As always, I'm joined by my partner here. Jacob, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. And like you said, I've been doing the above the line. I'm expanding it to include a lot more. So there will be a lot more up on there now.
Awesome. Also joining us today, Kenzie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm exhausted that this Oscar season's 9 years long, but it's fine.
Yep.
It has gotten to the point where I'm just like, because, we said this on the podcast this week when we announced the whiskeys, that like I've already seen everything. So it's like, we're here for another 3 months. And I know everybody hasn't, but like it's being a part of the critic group, we've seen everything. Let's move on with our lives. Let's go on, guys. Like they moved it and it's frustrating because now there's going to be films that come out of left field. Sundance is around the corner. Something could be flashy from Sundance and be purchased and brought out in February and could be nominated. And it's like, So we're recording the show on January the 10th. We're probably going to release it on podcast format. We're going to release it the week of the 17th. Video, we're going to make it available probably this week. Wanted to prefix that because the Oscar season's ever changing, but we'll probably sit down one more time here in February to kind of get ahead of the picks. But we'll kick it off with the supporting actress. And Kenzie, we'll just kind of go around the table. Everybody can agree on some locks here possibly, which I think this is the one category that there might not be a whole lot of locks, I guess you would say, yeah?
Yeah, like I have 3, but I can see one of them not actually being a tight lock, but I know Olivia Colman in The Father is probably a big lock. I haven't seen it yet, but she's a recent winner in a movie with the lead actor who is Anthony Hopkins. It's just, I think she'll definitely be considered a lock. And then I really think Amanda Seyfried's a lock in Mank. It's the one thing, even if people don't like the movie, they single her out. And I don't really think there's a ton of supporting actress contenders. So I think those 2 are for sure locks. And then Ellen Burstyn in Pieces of a Woman, even if you don't like the movie, she's great. And she is obviously a big name in the Oscar world. So, and we love her. So yeah, those are the 3 that stand out to me as like front runners / most likely locks.
I think the only one that I would add to that, but I wouldn't consider a lock either, is Yu Young-jung for Minari. I think that she's gonna get over that hump, I think, this year.
I think if she got over it, she'd be a lock. I mean, I haven't seen it, but just everyone's so passionate about her specifically. Yeah. I just think she has a big hurdle to come over before becoming a lock.
Jacob?
I did for a very long time thought of Olivia Colman as a lock. With how bad that Sony Classic Pictures, whatever, has been promoting that movie, other than Anthony Hopkins, of course, I think I think she's slipping down a little bit. And I brought this up on Twitter today. I could see a world where Glenn Close gets her revenge on Coleman by keeping Coleman out and getting that final spot. Other than that, I agree. Amanda Seyfried, for me, she's been my number 1 for a very long time, and that just seems so Oscar-y, and that's my one true lock. And then Yoon, of course, if she gets over that hump. Ellen Burstyn is probably in. I don't think she's a lock by any means, but Bakalova is very close, and if she can start getting some of the bigger named awards, I think she would easily be a lock to get in.
Yeah, I have her as in the hunt and the lead of that pack, but I don't know. It depends on how the movie's received. If the movie is contending in a few other categories, I think she's a lock. But if it's really not, the movie falls off the deep end with the Oscar conversation, I think she'll get left behind. Well, but she is really great in it. But it's also you have to consider it's a comedy and like.
Well, see,
And
that's
she's
the
going
thing.
against Olivia Colman, Glenn Close. I mean,
That's
like,
the thing
the
for
names
me.
that are listed are big like time actresses, so that's like another thing working against her. I mean, I would love for her to get in, but it's like it's a comedy performance. She's not a well-known actress. The movie might not be as well received, and that's like the thing that like makes me leave Glenn Close off, is like I don't really know how Hillbilly Elegy will be rewarded with Oscar nominations. Like it could end up getting like a few, but it could end up getting like 0.
right.
Like they might really like it, but we don't know that because not a lot of people really liked it, like outside of film Twitter. Like none of my friends have watched it, and it's on Netflix, and they watch like everything else that's been dropped on Netflix. But it's interesting. I also I keep seeing Jodie Foster pop up. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, she's like Scott Feinberg has Jodie Foster listed as like a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And she is on quite a few people's lists on Gold Derby. So, and she is Jodie Foster, guys. Wouldn't it be so cool if Anthony Hopkins was nominated and then Jodie Foster was nominated?
That would be pretty. That would be pretty dope.
Wow, that would be so cool.
And that's the thing. I think for me, the problem with the Bakavla is just the name value alone. And this is a very odd year, right? You know what I mean? I feel like this is. The performance is obviously is what it is. I'm not saying it wasn't a good performance because it was a good performance. I just it's an obscure
it has a lot of
film.
hurdles to overcome to
Right.
be
The big one she's gonna need is SAG. But
yeah,
I think for me, with Sacha Baron Cohen being, a very high up, possibly, we'll talk about that, but possibly a lock for Charles Chicago 7, I think with how much he's campaigning, it's allowing Borat to be, we don't need to campaign him for Borat for Globes or anything. He's got that locked up. So they've been pushing her so much in front of people and getting her out and like putting her name everywhere.
I think she would benefit if this was a normal year and they could do like screenings with her.
Mm-hmm.
But
with
with how
lovable character and out there and
with how open supporting actress is this year. I mean,
yeah, that's like a big thing. It's like
so,
she could, because there's really not that many people that I'm like, that's a lock. Like I said, Olivia Colman, you were like, no.
Yeah, I mean, this is the one category to where I feel like
I
there's
don't
still
have that many people.
Anyone from like 1 to 6 could still win. I could still see Ellen Burstyn winning. I could still see Olivia Colman winning. I could still see Yoon Ye-jung winning. I could still see Seyfried, all of them. I could still see Glenn Close winning for a Leonardo DiCaprio Oscar. And so this is the one where I feel like it's not very broad, but it is very wide open.
Exactly.
Moving on to the
unlike supporting actor.
Supporting actor, which is absolutely loaded. Okay, I think there's 2 locks.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's Sasha and Leslie Odom Jr.
Yeah, same. Those are the only 2 I think are locks.
I think Leslie Odom Jr. is going to be double nominated, which is going to be pretty cool. But for me, those 2 really, and then the outskirts of that, there's like 7.3 million names. But you guys, Kenzie, you agree with the locks there? Jacob?
Yeah, I completely agree with those 2. I think Sasha and Leslie are the 2 safest. I mean, Leslie for One Night in Miami, just because that movie he just is so good in that movie. And I personally love Sasha in Trial of Chicago 7. I know he's not a lot of people's first. But also with that, I mean, there has not been a single person this year that has been campaigning harder than Sasha. And I think it's really going to pay off come Globes, come SAG Ensemble, come all of that. I mean, personally, I still see him winning 2 Globes in one night. And so all of that building up to it, I think is going to give him a pretty good night.
That next set for me, really, I think Paul Raci, I think he's kind of in this somewhat of it is his league of his own. Maybe him and like he would be that next potential lock. I think it's going to depend on what Amazon does with the film, obviously, but he's getting a lot more love than I kind of anticipated, I guess, that I would expect it. But I mean, he's great in Sound of Metal. He's fantastic in Sound of Metal. But you have him, you have Kahlua, you have Rylance, you have Murray. You've got a pretty laundry list of guys, that are battling out for these last 3 slots. where do you see that at right now, Jacob?
Yeah. I mean, like you said, I think I think he's that last one in as like oh, like, look, like how cool this would be, especially having like, if Riz Ahmed got in, having him in as well. But yeah, I think after those first two, it's so wide open. Daniel Kaluuya could easily come out and still win. Bill Murray, I could see Bill Murray winning as as the same thing, Glenn Close, as just like a overdue award. And then of course you got Stanley Tucci for Supernova, who, a lot of people are still like talking about his performance, even though not a lot of people have seen it. And then even though I love Chadwick Boseman into Five Bloods, but I don't think he should be in, but he is getting a lot of love for his supporting performance into Five Bloods. And then, you've got the rest of the Chicago group, Rylance, Langella, Abdul Mateen. And I know some of them aren't doing as well, but you can't really count out all of them just yet, in my eyes.
Kenzie, thoughts?
Well, I think after the two locks, I think everyone else is really interchangeable because they're either smaller movies or people haven't seen them or they've come out and been kind of quiet. So like, I think Daniel Kaluuya, depending on the movie, could possibly win if it's really like as good as everyone is saying he's going to be. And then Paul Raci, like, I honestly think if it was a Netflix movie, he would be like contending to win. Yeah. But because it's Amazon, I don't really trust them, and that movie could end up getting 0 nominations somehow.
Yep. I could see him getting in and Ahmed
nothing else. Like I really could see that. Chadwick Boseman, I really think Chadwick Boseman has a really good shot for the Five Bloods of getting in. He's great, and two, that movie is like seeing a new surgeons again. Bill Murray, I think like you're saying, he is way overdue, but the movie, like, that's its only shot, sadly. Yeah. So that's like really hard to say that he could get in. And then, okay, the rest of my list depends on how the movies perform. If Promising Young Woman does really well, I would like, it could be like a Roma thing where they just throw Bo Burnham in. Like it could really happen.
He got his first nomination.
Yeah, today. Like if they like that movie, they could just check every box it's eligible in.
Yep.
And then same thing with Child Chicago 7, because I think that movie is like, unfortunately, in the hunt for Best Picture, like to win Best Picture. If they like go crazy for that movie, this category could be 3 guys from that movie. But it just like really depends after those first two, like how the rest of the possible nominees, how their movies do. Like if Promising Young Woman is like a thing, they could just like pick up Bo Burnham for a ride. Same thing with Mark Rylance.
No, yeah.
And his wig.
And I completely agree with the Bill Murray thing. See, that's my thing. It's like Bill Murray and Paul Raci could, well, of course, Paul Raci could be the only like upper tier award. I mean, I still think Sound and Metal gets in for sound. But those two could be the sole nominees from their films. And I think Paul Raci, even though he's not as big of a name, he just
has a better shot.
He gives a better, in my eyes, he gives a better performance and it's more liked.
Yeah, and I think Bill Murray would have benefited had this been a regular year and he could have been in front of people. Because he does like he's so likable, and I can't imagine him in front of Academy voters. Like it would play so much better, but it's not that kind of year, and like nobody's talking about that movie, so it's kind of like jumping off. It just kind of depends like what Apple does with it. Like, I mean,
and it seems like Apple's putting all their apples in a bag for Chirk. So
yeah.
I guess.
And Wolfwalkers, I think they're putting a lot of money out for Wolfwalkers as well.
Well, that's rightfully so, but the cherry one just baffles me. But also, Bill Murray's got A24, which sucks at promoting ever since they won the Oscar. But who knows? They could put his name out there too.
Another category that I think's really wide open after a couple at the top there is director. For me personally, I think the locks are Fincher and Zhao. After that, it is what it is. Race battle there, I think. Kenzie?
So I'm queen of David Fincher's fan club, and I don't think he's a lock. a lot of people don't even have him in like their 5. Like, it's really crazy. I think Chloe Zhao and Aaron Sorkin are the people that are locks, honestly. They're the 2 that are on everybody's list.
Aaron Sorkin being a lock would be a joke. I'm sorry. Like I'm just.
I don't like it, but he is on everybody's list,
I
and
don't
his
disagree.
movie is like number 1 on most people's lists of
sure.
Best Picture, and they're gonna lump him in. I think
Yeah.
after that, though, like, it's just so open. Like, I don't even know what to really make of it. Like,
Yeah, because
I would love. I haven't seen One Night in Miami, but Regina King's on a lot of people's lists, and she is a like fantastic person to get in front of people. Like, so charming, so well liked, and like she's obviously very loved. Like, she won an Oscar, an Emmy recently. Like, the love is there. And if you saw her name on a list and you were a voter, a lot of these other directors that are in the hunt are new directors, and she's at least a well-known name, which will definitely help her, especially in a year where people don't know what movies to watch because they didn't get to see movies in theaters. It's a lot harder.
Yeah, some of these easier accessible films are going to get a lot more reckoned as, you know.
Yeah, like I think that could really help Spike Lee too, because like Defy Bloods is having a resurgence. It's also Netflix, and he's like a name they know. Like, that could really benefit him. But I would love Emerald Fennell to get in. She's on some people's list. She's not on some people's list. I would love it to happen. It just depends how much they like that movie.
Jacob?
I still think David Fincher wins this, and I'm probably not going to take him off my thing. I get Chloe Zhao's getting a lot of love from the critics for that, but I think once you get it in front of purely film everything people and the whole style black and white, it's for me it's going to be more of like an achievement type of an award rather than a pure directorial thing, you know, doing his father's screenplay like 20 years after he wrote it, the black and white, recreating old Hollywood, you know, and then Fincher's got that overdue tab on top of it as well. I think DGA is going to be big for him. I think Mank's going to do very well at the Golden Globes because of their pretentious like nature of being the Golden Globes. So I definitely still have David Fincher, and I just think it's him versus Chloe Zhao, and I think everyone else is just fighting for a nomination. Lee Isaac Chung is getting a lot of love for Minari. He's moving up. This is the one where I added so many. Shaka King for Judas and the Black Messiah could be in there. Darius Martyr is getting some love for Sound of Metal, and if that movie really hits, I mean, I could easily see him getting in for what he did. Emerald Fennell, of course. George C. Wolfe for My Radius Black Bottom could easily get in. Again, the same thing with Olivia Colman. I think Florian Zeller's falling off a little bit because Sony Pictures Classic refuses to actually put that movie in front of people's faces.
I think that the only thing I will say about The Father is it's not out yet, right? You know what I mean? So I think they have the opportunity. I think they dropped the ball. Like Minari and Nomadland, they made the film accessible to everybody in the film world. The Father, it was just like it's been a time.
Yeah. The Father, I mean, I'm very adamant that the studios can do what they want to do when it comes to screeners and everything. But The Father was one where they like sent an email and said, hey, you're getting The Father for 48 hours. And then that was it. And so you had 2 days to watch it, which of course is what they can do. It's their film. But at the same time, like that's very quick for some people. So there's some people who just couldn't, because they did like 5 or 6 films at the same time, and so it's very quick for some people to be like, oh, do I want to watch this or do I want to watch something else, or can I even watch this right now? And so I feel like they're really, it's all about putting it in front of people's faces, and that's why I think Aaron Sorkin, you know, I don't think his direction is great. I think that's the one thing that really kind of holds Trial of Chicago 7 back, and I think a lot about what if David Fincher had Trial of Chicago 7, but I think Sorkin gets in just for how much they're putting it in people's faces. And then the whole major sequence is going to be why he gets in. because I think that actually was directed very, very well.
Real quick, moving on to the Best Actress category, another loaded category. I think right now, for me, I think McDormand and Kirby are going to be locks, and then after that, we have a lot. Or no, I'm sorry, Viola's I think a lock too. I think Viola's a lock. Kenzie, thoughts on actress?
I think Frances McDormand and Viola Davis are 2 locks, and I think everyone after that is like, I don't know. So I want to say Zendaya is a lock, but I haven't seen it. 2, like, not that many people have actually seen it. So I think Frances McDormand and Viola Davis are like the real locks, because Pieces of a Woman, some people really don't like the movie and that could hurt her, and not that many people know who she is, even though she's fantastic.
Yeah.
And everything else kind of depends on what they think of like the movie overall, because I don't know. I could
Promising
see
Young Women is one of those. It's like,
I could see her getting left off.
Yeah.
I think she should win, but I can see her getting left off because, one, it's more of a dark, like, I don't know if I was talking about it as like a dark comedy, and it's obviously like not for everyone, as I'm seeing all over Twitter all weekend. But, and I know Twitter is not the Academy, but I'm just saying, like, it doesn't appeal to everyone. And then 2, like, I think this should only be between Carey Mulligan, Vanessa Kirby, and Viola Davis.
Agreed.
But that's not what's happening. Because some people can't separate movies from the performance. And I think that's what's happening with Vanessa Kirby. And then on top of that, she's not a super well-known person. But, like, I would love to see Cindy Flanagan get some more love for Never Rarely, Sometimes Always. I rewatched it over the weekend, and it's just, she's astonishing.
It's fantastic. It's one of the, it's
like a year where like the weight of your name matters so much, because people have to watch everything at home. And I know Academy voters were probably watching 90% of everything at home before this year, but
still,
I think like if they're like, oh, can I watch this movie with an actress I don't know, or Viola Davis in a movie, or Frances McDormand, they're gonna go with the movie with an actor they know.
Yep.
And I personally want this to be Vanessa Kirby's Oscar or Carey Mulligan's, but I would be so excited to see Viola Davis get a lead actress Oscar, even though it's a supporting performance.
Agreed.
Of course, no one, like, very few people have seen it, but what you just said is why I think Zendaya has just as much of a shot, just from hearing like the first reactions and hearing everything and hearing how great she is, because she just won the Emmy. She's in the MCU. She just won the Emmy. She made like Emmy history by her win.
She could,
and
like,
she's very much like, she's very like
the age
prominent.
I'm just kidding. Oh, God. Keep going.
Very prominent in.
It's the same thing as like with Regina King. Like, her name is so like represented, like people would just know her name off a list right away. Especially like, let's say Vanessa Kirby does get in. If you're like, I don't know who that is, but I know who Zendaya is, like, that'll really, and it's Netflix, so.
Yeah, Netflix has a fucking embarrassment of riches this year. I mean, they've got.
Well, that's just based on the simple fact that they could buy it all because nobody could release anything in theaters. Like, they kind of strong armed the market there.
And then we also, I haven't heard, from what I've gathered, I haven't heard the greatest things about Billie Holiday.
But I think it's an actress play, if anything, and that's someone you can't leave off. And she's playing someone real, and that, like, we just saw a movie where like win Best Actress, where it wasn't nominated for like any other major awards. So it's like. And so
so I think that, and then
Sophia Loren's still a thing, and that's Netflix.
And we can't
Meryl
count
Streep,
out Meryl Streep yet. Yep, we can't. For how much I don't want her to get in, that's someone who I could see them getting
come on. She got Florence Jenkins. She won.
This could be one of those years where they just they sit
it's
down
all
and like,
five people we know.
Right, yeah, exactly. If they sit down, they're like, could we do Meryl Streep or Zendaya?
But I'm just saying.
Well, see, I would say Meryl Streep or Carey Mulligan.
I was just saying.
If they're going to do that, can they at least do Michelle Pfeiffer?
I would be okay with that. She's fantastic in The French Exit.
I haven't seen it, but like, Come on, Michelle
She has
Pfeiffer.
one scene in that movie that is so like it is a badass scene. I loved her in it. It was just the film's just meh, but
everyone
please.
points her out. So it's like if we're gonna go by name recognition alone, let's skip Meryl Streep. She's fine. She has enough.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is definitely an award where I feel like and that's really cool for how it is, but I still feel like anyone could win this award.
I wouldn't be mad if Frances McDormand won another one. I just think like otherwise, like everyone that's in the hunt, I'd be really happy with. Like I would love it to be someone like Zendaya or Vanessa Kirby or Carey Mulligan, who's Carey Mulligan's not new, but like
Be a new win, you know.
Like it would just be exciting for it to not be someone who already has an Oscar.
That's the thing. Like for me this year, like I feel like this is the year the opportunity the Academy has to award fresh faces and really put those fresh faces on in front of people. You know what I mean? Like this is the opportunity to do something like that. And I just don't know if they're going to do that. Exactly. Transitioning to actor. I mean, it's no matter what we say about the father, it's Anthony Hopkins, right? You know what I mean? We have Hopkins and we have Chadwick.
Those are definitely the only two locks.
Yeah, and then you have everybody else.
I still think Delroy's a lock. I don't know. I don't think they won't have him in.
I want to say he's a lock, but like I just get this really uneasy feeling about it. Like I think if they go for the movie, yes, but I also feel like Netflix is like putting its money elsewhere.
But see, with The Five Bloods, they're putting all their money in him.
I guess, but like I think like if the movie doesn't get in, like I could see him falling off. I don't want that to happen. I'm just saying. I'm
going to be brokenhearted when Riz Ahmed doesn't get a nomination.
Yeah, that's the one I'm so stressed about. So I think like Riz Ahmed,
Tom Hanks will get in.
You got Oldman, and then
Steven Yeun, I feel like could get left off.
I think he's good. I personally wouldn't put him in my 5 regardless. But Academy wise, I could see them easily just skipping over that one.
I could easily see.
I can see Steven Yeun not getting in, and then like Gary Oldman getting in.
I could see.
I see a world where Tom Hanks gets in. So there's that.
That too. I think I could definitely see a world where Riz Ahmed misses and Steven Yeun and Gary Oldman take those last 2 spots. Just for the fact of Minari is 85 to 90% going to be a Best Picture contender and going to be a contender of a lot across the board. And they might take that rather than taking Sound of Metal, who will be actor, sound, and maybe one other thing.
Yeah, and I think once One Night Miami comes out, I think that Amazon's going to shift all of their focus to that and really push that instead of Sound of Metal, because I don't think they know how to handle all the vehicles at one time the same way Netflix does.
I think that's why they love Borat, is because they're like, oh, we can just push one person in Borat and not have to worry about anything else.
Transition into picture. I mean, obviously the lock there, The Trial of Chicago 7. That's a lock there. I think
Nomadland's a lock.
Nomadland.
And then I would put Minari and Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as locks.
I think Mank's a lock too.
I really I want to fight for Mank in everything. Oh, we did not talk about Mads Mikkelsen. That. I don't think he's getting a nomination, sadly, but he should be in the conversation. Thanks. But I don't really think Mank's a lock. I want it to be. I think Mank's going to be like 8.
We're getting 10, right?
I think next year's the first year we're getting like a solid 10.
I think next year is the first year. It's like, I think Mank's like on the cusp. I think it's like Mank and Soul are the last 2 in.
I definitely have Mank a lock. Strictly for the fact Mank will probably finish with over 10 nominations, and they're not going to give a movie 10 nominations and then not have it in Best Picture, because it'll be
not like all the critic groups.
Yeah, but it'll be production design, costume design, cinematography, score, like all of those right there. It's already top 2. Editing, it's top 2. Director, it's top 2. Actor, supporting actress, it's top 2. Makeup and hairstyling, it's probably top 2. And so, I mean, that's just 8 right there. And that's just right off the top of my head. I definitely think it's going to finish with at least 10. And I think if a movie gets almost 10 nominations, I feel like it has to get Best Picture.
I like that I'm the one who likes Mank the most, and I don't agree with that.
I'm looking forward to it because again we have so much time to play out, right? You know what I mean? Like we talked about this, like we went to prefix to say what time this was being recorded because we could be completely talking about something totally different by next week or even the week after.
Yeah,
Once some of
because
these
next
films-
Friday's like the 15th is a big release date, like digitally.
Yeah.
There's a lot coming out. Like if you're listening and you haven't watched Promising Young Woman on Friday, you can. Third podcast I'm mentioning this.
Yes,
It's
third
fine.
podcast just today.
But I think like Soul is like something that could get through to Best Picture if like they spend enough money on it. And then I also think that One Night in Miami and Malcolm and Marie just depend how much money they spend on it.
I think One Night in Miami is in. My on the cusp one right now is probably going to be The Father. I could see The Father falling off and getting screenplay and actor, and that being it. Or I could see getting director, actor, supporting actress. A slew of them. It seems like they're not really pushing it as hard as they need to.
I'm gonna call Sonny Picker Clacks with myself
And,
and just say, hey, look, you just give me X amount of dollars, we're about to push this out the wazoo.
One that actually like scares me, and I mean I haven't seen it. I really have no want to see it, but News of the World is probably going to be one that plays very well.
I think it could get into director if they like push it enough.
Yeah,
because they really like
I said a couple
Paul
months ago.
Greengrass.
Exactly. They love
him,
Yes.
especially the director's branch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
And he could take David Fincher's spot. I'm just saying.
No, I don't.
I really think David Fincher's like on the outs. I don't think he's a lock at all, and I love him. I'm the leader of the fan
Can we
club.
just nominate Fennel, Zeller, Martyr, Zhao, and King? Like, can that be our 5 and just call it a day?
Can you imagine if like the first year there's a woman of color nominated, there's 2, and then there's 2 women in Best Director? Like
That'd be awesome.
Like if 2020 can give
That'd
us
be
anything,
3 women. Like that would be 3.
They could give us
women.
3 women in the director's lineup. That would be fine. There better be 2. I don't care what 2 it is. There better be 2. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Women.
Folks, we're going to be diving into these again next month in February. Make sure to check out Jacob's latest article, which will be dropping here this week. Make sure to give Kenzie a follow at Kenzie Nunu. Give myself a follow at Ricky_. Give Jacob a follow at tberry57. We're consistently pumping out the content here for the award season. I can't wait till next month and we have completely different locks and completely different picks. That's going to be a whole lot of fun for us. So thank you.
No more David Fincher.
David Fincher is dead. R.I.P.
I don't see it.
I literally just want David Fincher to miss now just for this moment alone. So
I don't want him to miss. I just want to clarify. I'm obsessed with him more than anyone on this podcast, but I have a bad feeling, guys. As long as a woman takes his place, we're fine.
I love it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.